Hello, dear star family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Lunchtime Chats. My name is Christina, and for those of you who are new, I'm an acceleration expert, and we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. You see, we have capacities and abilities that our larger human family do not embrace. Therefore, our perspective to the daily challenges, to these challenges that we face on a regular basis, are very, very unique to us. We're a particularly unique demographic, let's say. So I'm here to do the best of my ability to provide a liberated perspective to these topics and issues and challenges that we face on a daily basis. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to hang out for a minute and give everybody some time to give the crew some time to step in and join the conversation. Go ahead and go on my reel with that. Energies that are closing out. Well, I guess we don't need to talk too much about the energies closing out. It's more about what's to come, preparing for what's to come. So this is the last chat of 2022, and I want to talk a little bit about the energies that I'm already sensing happening for 2023. And so I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about what you and me, what we can be doing to navigate the coming times with more grace, more ease. This is actually a really big deal because what is coming is like the final blow, the final shatterings of our structures, our Saturn structures, so long. So a lot of feedback loops from the universe showing me pieces on, there is a graceful way through what's coming. And some of us are already awake to what's coming, and a lot of people are not awake to what's coming. So this is more of a shock to the larger collective. Those of us that have been doing our personal work, we've been, we're living for this, right? This is why here is for the welcome. She wants to chime in and say that 2023 adds up to the year of 7. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with the great die-off that's coming. There's a massive die-off approaching us, and it's the die-off of those old Saturn structures that have been in play in our lives for generations upon generations upon generations. The big one, the war machine. The war machine, that's going to have its day in 2023. It's going to have its reckoning. And then the other Saturn structures are education. Our education system is also in its time of reckoning. Our health system in its time of reckoning. Okay, our energy systems, our, pretty much those structures that are held together, our government, our bureaucracies, all this stuff that's held together with our life force energy. All of this is going to be having its reckoning in 2023. Now, what this looks like for you and me will be very unique to maybe what the larger whole is going to experience. Why? Is because we've been awake to the falling ways of these structures for quite some time, and many of us have been engineering our lives to be unplugged from these pieces. So for a lot of us, we're ahead of the game, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have grieving go on over the death of these structures, and not just of structures, but I'm also getting cues that there's also many levels of mass die-off. Okay, many levels of a mass die-off that we're coming into. And these are energies that I'm sensing, but it's also being reflected to us in the astrology. The star of the show in the coming 2023 is Pluto. Pluto, death and dying, transformation through death. But also Pluto is the god, the keeper, so to speak, of the underworlds. Okay. And this is what's been happening in the past few years, is that all that was hidden dark and forgotten in the underworlds is coming to the surface. And this is quite literally the Pachacuti that the Q'ero elders have been talking about for all these decades. Quite literally, that which was underground and hidden is now in the light. Okay. Welcome, welcome. All right, dear brother Darren says, Happy New Year, everyone. Just tuned in. Good to have you, Darren. Thank you for being here. Oh, thank you for those videos, by the way. You're sending me some pretty interesting videos that, yeah, I love listening to takes that are so drastically different than my own, because I learned something in those pieces, like, oh, okay. I get to see it where I'm at in relationship to certain things, and I love that because I find it really empowering, really helpful. So thank you for that, dear brother. All right, and okay, so the universe. Coming back to the universe, you guys, maybe we say this out loud: the universe, this, the universe is that, right? And depending on how deep you are in the liberation dynamic, in the empowerment, self-empowerment path, awakening path, some people might call it ascension path, depending on how far along you are in that, people often realize that eventually on some level, there's a question of what universe do you exist in? Do you exist in the power over dynamic universe? Do you exist in a free will universe? What universe, quite literally, are you embodiment of, right? So for this sake of this conversation, I am going to address the word universe as a benevolent creator awareness, okay? Consciousness and awareness. And I know that there are other dynamics that make that statement very complicated, but this is this is just for to convey some ideas and some thoughts. It's not the all encompassing, okay? Because not everybody's really at that place of having it be a very real thing that, their universe that they're living in, they can tell it's a different universe than the person next to them. It's like, that's too abstract for most people, and even starseeds, to really embrace and understand. So I'm going to benevolent that is all, it's within us, it's around, and that universe is conscious. That universe has awareness. That universe is colluding on our behalf. Okay, those are some of the foundation points here. All right. Hello, dear sister Tammy. Good to see you, darling. I'm glad you're here. Joanne says, yes, I believe that we will need to learn to acknowledge our grief and express it without drama and or shame, to allow it to flow. Yes. Thank you, Joanne. You're bringing me right back to the deeper point that I'm going to need to talk about today. And I'm going to let me come back to that. Let me continue on my universe tangent, and then I'll come back to that, because that's the nail on the head in a lot of ways for humanity. Okay, so I'm getting back on the universe tangent. So I talk about feedback loops and data sets. And feedback loops are synchronicities of the universe, right? This is when you're thinking of somebody and then they call. This is when you're like, gosh, I really wish I had a ... and it shows up. Synchronicities. Say you just did a massive healing within yourself, and that very same night, somebody says something that is in perfect alignment with that internal healing you're aware that you had, and you didn't say anything to that person, right? Those are all synchronicities. Those are all feedback loops that's the universe confirming that that event that happened within you is truly so. And I also talk about these feedback loops as confirmation of how far you've come. In the academy, when you have wound in a blind spot, there's this idea: is it all the way gone? Is it permanent? Is it this? Is it that? And my answer to that always is, you don't know until you get the feedback loops from the universe. You don't know until you start getting the synchronicities, and those synchronicities show you the impact of what that unraveling has done. Okay. And it's not just one feedback loop, it's many feedback loops. And eventually what happens is that you end up with an entire landscape of feedback loops confirming something that you've either released or reintegrated or unraveled, a blind spot that has been unraveled, and an expansion of conscious that follows that. Okay, so it's like this feedback loop system. And in this, the reason why I want to share this with you guys is so you guys can really get it confirmed for you that the universe is constantly talking to you. There's not a single second that goes by where the universe isn't speaking to you, and it's speaking to you so extraordinarily precisely, so accurately, it's unfathomable for our mind to accept. Okay, not only to accept, but to even recognize. It's so unfathomable we don't recognize it. But if you strip those mind thoughts away and you think about this, and well, think about this, right? And you look at it and you relax your mind thoughts, let's say, and allow yourself to just be in observance of the feedback loops, you'll notice, number one, the universe has an amazing sense of humor, right? I think many of us all here have that, right, already. But we'll also start to realize that even our thoughts and our feelings that we're having, the universe is giving us a very precise feedback loop about it. Okay, and it's because we search for meaning in a certain frequency that it gets lost on us. Okay, but when you realize that this dialogue is happening, there's a few things. One is that if it's important, you're going to know about it. If it's important for you to know, you're going to know about it. You can trust that, because that's how accurate the universe is. If you're in denial, that's going to be shown to you. If you're in total acceptance, that's going to be shown to you. If you're dancing the dance of the victim, that's going to be shown to you. If you're willfully dancing the dance of the victim, that's going to get shown to you. Or any other power over dynamic, that's going to be shown to you. And in our old frame-ups, the way the veils have influenced our mind thoughts in the past, we would use those feedback loops as validation on disempowerment beliefs. We would use that feedback loop on validation of lies, lifting. Inversions of these feedback loops. That's what our lens of our belief systems have done. But now that the veils are lifting, the clouds are parting, and we're seeing through the collective field in a more apt and clear way, we now can have a different relationship to those feedback loops, and they all become validating of the work we're doing. They all become validating of the truth that we're following inside of us. You see what I mean? When before, because of all these other distortions in those veils, that was not the case. The feedback loops were showing you how terrible you were, or how, why you feel like crap, or why you're worthless, or why you don't matter, or why this, that, or the other. Is a ... long list, I'm sure, right? I mean, this is not the first lifetime you've had on this planet. Maybe parts of you, but in general, most of the beings that come through as star seeds are ancient beings that have had many experiences here. Now, it may feel like sometimes you're new to this planet. It's because other aspects of you are here that haven't been here before. That's definitely a thing. I know for me that that shifted. Gosh, back in 2006, I had to have a massive shattering, and in that shattering, more aspects of me came back to me and reintegrated than what's ever existed on this planet before, prior to the inception of the fall of consciousness, right? So so in that way, some of you might feel, as starseeds, might feel strangers to this world, but really the original thread that you're reintegrating into is something very ancient. We have been a part of this experiment, for most of us, from the beginning. Okay, from the beginning. Just feel what your body does when I say that. Most of it from the very beginning. Please let me know if this video is blacking out a lot, because on my screen it's going black a few times, and I don't know if it's just me or if it's for you guys too. If it's for you guys too, I'll pause and wait for the blackout to pass to keep talking. All right. So the universe is constantly speaking to us, and it's speaking to us in code. It's speaking to us in metaphor, in song and poetry, Okay, thank you, Stacy, for letting me know. Okay. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you, Joanne. The audio is blotchy. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move my hotspot and see if that makes a difference. Give me 1 minute. Okay, let's see if that's any better. We'll see if that's any better. Cuts out every 10 seconds on average. Oh, okay, in a minute, okay. All right, we'll see if this is a little bit better. One more new spot. Hold on. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. I have more bars now. It's settled. It should be better now. If it doesn't, If it doesn't improve, I'll try again. You guys let me know. If this should improve it, and if it does, great. And if not, please let me know and I'll move it to another spot. I'm next to a mountain here, and my hotspot has to be far enough away from the mountain for it not to get disrupted. So yeah, it's a very interesting place, this is. Anyway, let me get back. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. All right. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, talking to us in code, right? It talks to us in code, in metaphor, in riddle, in all these different ways. Okay. So nothing is necessarily straightforward. Okay. And that's because this is all coming from your abstract self, the abstract aspects of who you are. And the abstract is never straightforward. The abstract is always something that is felt into, and then in the feeling into it, your knowing comes forward and makes sense of things. Okay, so when it's that kind of engagement, and this is why indigenous languages are in poetry more than direct, right? Matter of fact, direct languages they call dead languages. Those when you need to speak directly, and like with English, for example, they consider that a dead language because there's no spirit in it. Versus when you're speaking in riddle and poem, your heart, your spirit is in it, and it requires the listener to also be in their heart and their spirit to receive what it is that you're saying. Okay. And of course, there's lots of room for translation and understanding to happen. Okay. But what's important, it's one's heart and spirit expressing, connecting with another person's heart and spirit. Well, guess what? The universe speaks in that same kind of language. Those are those feedback loops. The ones that are super direct and obvious, of course, we have those because they're so freaking obvious, but there's other ones that are more subtle. And as these veils of the collective unravel and release, it's like there's more availability for us to be relaxed and softened inside, for our heart and our spirit to be present to these moments and watch the universe speaking to us. The universe speaks to us through nature, through wildlife, it can speak to us through electronics too. I've had that happen. So there's unlimited ways that this poetry can be spoken to us in these feedback loops from the universe. I had where were we? Was I here? Okay, I might have been in Texas I was in Texas when this happened. I was in conversation with somebody, and I look up, and there's these two hummingbirds right above my head doing a little love dance, and for me, because I was doing a lot of energy work in that place. For me, that was confirmation that the lands, the nature recognized my presence and was in harmony with what I was doing. It was poetically validating the work that was happening, because and we need to let it to be as complex and as soulful as poetry. And the reason why is because we cannot take anything at face value. Oh yeah, and this is the point where I started to block out. We cannot take things at face value. There's so much more going on than just the face value. For example, a feedback loop that brings you pain doesn't mean that it's negative. Okay? A feedback loop that brings you sorrow, sadness, depression does not mean that you did something wrong and that something negative is happening. Okay? We need to feel in more deeply. And the example I have is that just a couple days ago, a friend of mine was getting activated and they really weren't feeling well, like headaches and, emotional spewing, all this stuff. And one person might look at that and say, oh, I wonder what, they could have been doing something wrong, and that's why they feel so terrible. But my immediate thought was, well, what is she doing right that's making her go through this detox? Right? So we can't take things at surface value. We really need to have a landscape of data sets, landscape of feedback loops of the universe to get the bigger picture of what's happening and its impact. Okay. So weaving this into the 2023 energy, right? This Pluto energy is bringing that final death to those constructs that are no longer in integrity with life. Okay. And those constructs are the bureaucracy stuff, the corporate stuff. All right. So we have, our obvious ones, the war machines, the governments, all the things I mentioned in the beginning. The structures that are holding those apparatuses up are in for a great whammy via Pluto, the Pluto energy. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Pluto. Now, for those of us who have been going through Pluto transits, because it takes many years for Pluto to transit through a sign, right? Many years to transit through a particular angle of relationship to this planet. So for those of you who've gone through massive Pluto transformations in your particular celestial star map, your astrological configuration, the intensity of Pluto. It's one thing after another. It's like boom, boom. You have to say goodbye. It's like sticking your finger in that spiritual lightning socket, where you stick your finger in that spiritual lightning socket and your entire life falls apart. All the things that you thought were solid, all the things that you thought you could rely on, all the things that gave you comfort just fall away in a very unceremonial way, very painful way. So not only are you having to find new ground to settle upon, there's a grieving process that happens with the loss of these structures that gave us at one point in time an identity maybe that we cherished, or a foundation that we really relied upon, or a sense of security that we used. All that stuff falls away and requires a grieving process. Now, the reason why it requires a grieving process is this is part of the sickness of the Western society of humanity. Okay. It is possible to accept things so completely where the grieving happens like a river flows and there's no navigation required. But most humans in the Western world, their ego driver is not related to their emotions in that way. And that is why we need a grieving process. We need to be aware that we're in a cycle, we're in a process. Okay. That is the lifeline for people who are heavily in their mental field, is recognizing that there is a process that they're in. And when they recognize that process, they can settle and allow themselves to have feelings, allow themselves to process their sadness, their denial, their grief, their anger, la, 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 big long list of stuff. I didn't mean to throw grief in there. Those are all things that happen in the process of grief. So for those of us who are able to really just flow with our emotions without those understandings, we have a bit of a leg up in that because we can let things flow through us very, very quickly. Now, the downside is that the people around us may not be able to handle that kind of intensity. So we need to evaluate who are the proper space keepers for us to be in that level of intensity within ourselves. Okay. I know that when I'm in my emotional space and I'm letting things flow, it's intense, and I'm okay being alone. Matter of fact, that's why I'm okay being alone, because I don't want to really impact people that don't know how to process what it is that I'm processing, right? But there are wonderful communities, and we have a community in the academy that's like this, where people will get together and hold space for each other while we release this stuff, while we go through this intense emotional purge. And if you can have that kind of thing set up for you, then you're going to be able to navigate this coming year very, very well. And it's not to say you're not going to have massive ups and downs. What I'm saying is that the depths of the valleys will not be as low, and the level of devastation will not be as heavy. Okay. And that's because we've been preparing for this. for years and years and years. We've been preparing, we've been doing our personal work. And this year in 2023 is going to be the litmus test, is going to be the year of feedback loops, the landscape that shows you how effective your personal work up until now has been. Okay. If you're coming into 2003 and you're having that finger stuck in the spiritual lightning socket experience and your whole life is falling apart and you're completely devastated, well, now you know that the personal transformation work that you were doing was only hitting the surface. It wasn't getting into the deep stuff, right? And I'm not saying that to be like, haha, you're wrong. No, that's not at all what I mean. I mean that you need to understand this is a dialogue of the universe speaking to you. Now you know there was more depths that you are capable of that maybe you didn't reach. Okay. But for those of us who are going into the depths that we need to go to, grace and ease is absolutely a part of this process of the falling away. And the story I have is just something that I heard news of this morning, is a dear sister Starshine who is in the academy and does lots of deep work, lots of work. I mean, she's been pretty much, her and I have been, pretty much neck and neck in how in doing our personal work. It's a part of our lifestyle. It's not something that we visit when we get a problem. It is our life. It's our daily life. This is what we do. And what happened is that a neighbor's tree fell on an electrical pole that caught fire that was coming up to her house. Now, she was having a full-on emotional response. The husband was going into fix-it mode. I mean, everybody high alert went into their thing. And if you think about this is like a foreshadowing of that 2023 constructs falling apart. And that's our energy system, right? This is our financial system. This is, all the structures that we've been living upon that are not in harmony with life. This is what I'm talking about. They're all going to end up having problems because of Pluto. And so she has this problem with the electricity catching, the whole thing catching fire. And then there's this big dynamic inside that it takes her to. She goes through the internal process of it all. And the worst that happened was that they are now out of electricity for the day. Okay. None of the kids were hurt. The house did not catch on fire, right? I mean, it was a big ado, right? Because it could have caught on fire. There's all sorts of things that could have happened. And on top of all that intensity on the external world happening, it brought her deeper into herself, into deeper layers of her personal issues that source that event into being so. Okay. So when we're able to address these intensities like that, that is how we allow for more grace and more ease. That is how we actually minimize the impact of something that could be really much, much worse. So for example, instead of having the wall of cinder blocks pounded into your head, it's more of a smack of someone's hand. Way less intense. Still not pleasant, still not great, right? But because of all that inner work that's done, we don't need those cinder blocks to be dropped on our heads. It can be much more gentle. And those gentle things still take us to the depths that they need to take us to. You see what I mean? So this is the secret of navigating this chaos with grace and ease, is going as deep as you can in your personal work. So when the upheavals are in motion, you are in the right place at the right time, and it does not need to take you through the depths of hell in order to touch these buried places inside of yourself. You're willing to go there with the breeze. You're willing to go there with the sight of an eagle. You're willing to go there with the sight of whatever. Okay. So this is what Pluto is doing this year. It's making people get to the depths that they need to get to in order, though, for the underworlds to get fully revealed. Okay. So I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. This process that we're in is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Okay. So pace yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves. Understand that all the feedback loops that are going on in your life are a part of who you are. This is something that is inside of you, showing you something that you need to see. It's important to show you. You know, animal running across the street is not just an animal running across the street. A friend going off on you and being really upset for A, B, and C reason is not just a friend who has issues. These are things that we are colluding with and creating in the universe, and it's being shown to us. And it's, don't look it on the surface. The surface is just the messenger. There's all these energies behind it, and by resolving, unwinding those energies behind it, that is how you're going to adjust the surface data set. Okay, that is how you're going to adjust that, how the feedback loop comes, the synchronicity that is shown to you. I hope this is making sense the way I'm saying it. I know it's a bit abstract the way what this is, but it's for starseeds. Well, for multidimensional, woke up to yourself. This is a very solid, practical thing that happens on every day of your life. But I'm just trying to put words to it to frame it up so the mind can actually have a relationship to what's happening, and you're not constantly in that state of taking that leap of faith. Though that is something that has to happen, right? That is part of this walk, is taking that leap of faith. The thing is that it's not a blind leap. It's a leap into trusting yourself. It's a leap into trusting what your heart is saying and what your heart's calling forward. You know what I mean? It's a leap in trusting the deep senses of knowing of your truth, like that. Now, I won't get into the confusion between truth and not truth, because that's a whole nother ball game. Which will probably get unraveled, which is, Pluto is going to contribute into unraveling that too. So people who are stuck in lies, lying to themselves, they're going to have their reckoning in 2023. People who want to stick their head in the sands and avoid, they're going to have their reckoning in 2023. Okay, all these lying manipulators that have not been honest with themselves or the world, or maybe they are honest with themselves, but they're not honest with the world because they're afraid of the repercussions, they are going to have their reckoning. Okay, all of this is coming for 2023. We will have no choice other than to do what we know is right inside of ourselves. That's the point of the reckoning of 2023. We as a collective, as an individual, have no choice but to do what we know is right. Okay. Those are the ones that are going to navigate 2023 well. The ones that have a gazillion lists and programs that they yield to and sacrifice what they know is right, those are the ones that are going to have a real hard time with this Pluto energy. And this Pluto energy, remember, is directly affecting those Saturn structures. Okay. And those structures are industrial military complex. That's what I'm calling the war machine. Oh, the other leg of our war machine is our government officials that are just invested in endless war. We know this. I don't care who the war is for. It's not right, period. If there's a problem, negotiate it out. If you can't negotiate it, why don't you want that? You know what I mean? It's a whole different level. So this isn't about being for or against any particular group of people. It's that war is wrong. Bankrupting, robbing populations of their wealth is wrong. Okay, and that's exactly what's happening. That's going to have its reckoning this year, and I look forward to that. And fingers crossed that it'll be. Actually, I can't say that. Never mind, I can't say that. And then the other thing is our education system and our health system. Those are all going to have the reckonings with the Pluto energy this year. We have our food system, what we do with our food, that's also going to have its reckoning. It's already going on. This is already, we're getting foreshadowing of what that looks like. And it looks like animal viruses. We have avian sicknesses that have taken out massive populations of the chickens, right? So I just heard today that there's a shortage of eggs, right? And before that, I heard there's a shortage of chicken meat. So it's like, so that's happening. And then you have all these droughts, so no one can feed their cattle. So there's lack of cattle. So there is a breakdown most certainly happening. And I'm sorry if this might offend a few folks, but I'm not trying to be offensive. It's more about, something that I given guidance about many years ago is that enslaving life forms is going to end. The enslavement of life forms is going to end. So I'm not just talking about the humans, but I'm also talking about all the livestock that lives under slavery, in in order to, and are treated terribly in order to feed populations. Those collective devas are only allowing that up into a certain. This is the guidance I got. Those devas that are the oversouls of all those animal species. They're only going to allow that to continue for so long. Okay, and I was told that just one day it's going to be over. It's going to be done. Is 2023 that day is going to happen in that year? I don't know. I'm just sharing with you what the guidance was given to me when I was in dark room back in 2017. Because I was concerned about that, because at the time my family ate a lot of chicken, and I was like, geez, there's a lot of suffering in those chickens, and you are what you eat, and all that stuff. So that was something I was meditating on and transmuting when I was in dark room back then. And then we get to these astrological patterns now. It's all kind of coming together in my mind. All right, welcome, young trick named Jim. It's been a while. All right. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you for responding with me. Thank you. And then dear sister Tammy says, this makes so much sense, Christina. A major feedback loop is Christmas of 2022 was the absolute best with my husband. Tim. He was fun, witty, cracking jokes, dressed up with Santa pants, went caroling. Wow, he went caroling? Wonderful. So he was having a good old time. Wonderful. That's great to hear. Yeah. So what she's talking about is all the personal work that she has been doing and healing, inner relationship issues, relationship to inner masculine, relationship to mom and dad, creator, all this stuff. As you heal these pieces inside of you and they become whole and unified, the feedback loop of the universe is that your relationships, the people you're in relationship with, change. They change not because now they're different people. They change because you are now magnetizing different behaviors out of them, right? So that's what she's talking about. She has rearranged her electromagnetics within her body to such a way that she gets different feedback loops now from her relationships, which is beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. And this is our superpower, guys, coming into this 2023 energy. There's a lot of that falling away, and this is a golden opportunity for us all to dig deep, use those frequencies, that field of frequency that Pluto holds for us, to go deep into our own underworlds and unearth everything and anything that is in the way of our natural state, our truth, our natural flow, our birthright as star beings in these biosuits. Okay, reawaken our DNA dance to be in harmony with both earth and sky. I mean, all of this is prime opportunity. And I'm going to make reference to a dear sister starshine that passed many years ago. Her name is Sylvia Brown. I don't know if you guys remember her. For those of you who've been around for a while, she was on Montel Williams' show a lot, if you guys remember him. I know I'm totally dating myself here, but I just want to reference, because there's a book that she wrote, and I've talked about this before, but there are many things in that book that she wrote that have come to pass. And it's all about these times. And it was a book about prophecy and the difference between psychic predictions and prophecies and this kind of thing. But she called out the schools going online. She called out some atrocities, some absolutely terrible things happens, and people start being fearful to go outside. And she talked about all this stuff. Even this war that we're in right now, she talked about all this stuff and different things, and she was talking about it as if it was in hindsight. And the thing I want to point out here about that is, maybe that book's around, you guys can check it out, is that she said somewhere around 2023, 2025, in that time frame, we get an entirely new government. Because what gets revealed is the marriage between corporate technocracies and our government gets revealed, and the level of corruption and depravity that how compromised those leaders are will get revealed, and it's so over the top appalling that people retake back the republic. And we start creating policies where, if in order to be a senator, in order to be a congressman, you cannot have any financial ties to any major corporation. So that means you need to be everyday Joes. You need to be cops. You need to be teachers. You need to be stay-at-home moms. You need to be, you know what I mean? People who are completely unplugged from that level, from that system, in order to take part in the lawmaking activity. Okay. And this is the year. 2023 is the year that people wake up to this. And you know what's going to wake us up? I'm going to give you three guesses. The two guesses, the first two don't count. What is the major catalyst that's going to reveal this unity between our political figures and our I'll call it the corporate technocracy? What do you think it's going to be? What do you think? I'm really... We don't need to say it because I don't want to get censored, but you guys, we don't need to say it. It's the obvious. So things are really, really coming. I'm excited for this year. I know it's going to be intense. I feel the intensity already, but I'm ready. I'm ready for it. And I hope you guys are ready for it too. And if not, just know, we are a community of people working together. There's always room. There's always room for more to participate and more things to offer and support. Our dear sister Stacy does those resets on the last Sunday of every month. She is absolutely fabulous, and that is a free support for you to help you with your own process in digesting these energies that and these grievings and these falling aways that the Pluto energy is bringing. And then we also have Ray Ellen's planetary encodement that happens, I think it's the third Monday of every month. And that's where she actually talks about the planetary influences on a soul level, what's happening, and the kind of energies we're dealing with and processing and alchemizing within the academy. So there are opportunities here to get support if you need it. And I do say, please, there's no shame in needing support. I need support. And when I need it, I call. Believe me, I'm on the phone with somebody. Hey, help. Or just sometimes just a conversation. So we all need each other. We're all in this together. And I know we say this a lot, and it's not anecdotal. It's a real thing. All of us are in this together. There literally is no man left behind. Okay, there's no man, person, woman left behind in this movement. Okay, we are all responsible for each other. Just because you're on the other side of the world and maybe I don't know your phone number, but I'm still, you're still in community with me. I'm in community with you. So there's like this, this divide that the shenanigans has created. It's going to get healed, because there's no moving forward without each other. We have to move forward together. And this is what Pluto is going to destroy, those polarizing, not just structures, but the energy grids, the frequency fences. We're going to get past all that, and we're going to find the unity. Okay. And there's some more narratives out there to create more divide, but that, we're going to get past that, because shit's going to get real. Death is a great catalyst. Death is when shit gets real, and all the BS, all the rhetoric, all the ridiculous narratives go out the window, and only the truth is what's interesting. Only the truth is what is worth one's time when they're in that time of facing death. That is an important piece. Only the truth is worth your time right now when you're facing death. Now, this could be your death, your ego death. It could be people dying around you. It could be the death of a life. It could be the death of a pet. It could be the death of a lifestyle. I mean this in a very broad sense. When that is happening, only the truth matters. And that's gonna be those are the ones that are gonna rise up and do what they know is right. That's the catalyst right there. Okay. Our dear sister Ella, good welcome. Glad to see you here. I can see almost like two timelines in my relationship. One day is connection, and the other is complete opposite, almost like the old or new paradigm. Yeah. And dear sister Joanne says, now I see why of releasing everything, why I've been releasing everything these past 2 years, a kind of death and rebirth, now trusting the universe again in a deeper way. Woohoo! So schooling. Thank you for that. High five, sister. High 10. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so that unification is going to be real. Absolutely. So here, all right, so here's another note. This is more on a personal note. Did I talk about everything I said I was going to talk about? Wait a minute, let me check with that first. Yeah, okay. I have a little bulleted list to make sure I didn't get too far off tangent. So healing. All right, so I'm going to talk about the real controversial stuff. The you know what's from the you know what's, right? So I've been having dreams and visions, and things have been coming forward, and they're starting to come forward from other people in my community, in the academy, and that's why I'm actually feel like I need to be saying this, because I want to plant this seed now, because it's going to grow. For those of you who are ready for this seed to get planted, it's going to grow, and you're going to be ready to hit the ground running when the time comes. All right, so there's the you know what's and the you know what's, right? And it's common knowledge in the scientific community, even though they're not saying it. Well, some are saying it, but it's not being fully embraced by the narrator police. But the spiky balls have dire impact on people's immune system, their skin, and other things. And the dream that I had just recently was like a Morgellons kind of thing. Like, are you guys familiar with what Morgellons is? It's when your body starts excreting these tendrils, these threads, these filaments. Okay, and the filaments, when they're analyzed, it's nanite technology. It's nanites coming out. And in my dream, they were coming. There's lots of them coming out in all different directions, and they look like inchworms, and in my understanding instantly was like, my question was, oh my gosh, am I infested? And then the understanding was, no, not to the point of any kind of critical mass. They become a real danger when they hit critical mass, and then they really can wreak havoc on the body. And instantly, also in that dream, I had the solution. And the solution is to eradicate this from our system is through vibration and sound. Okay. The key ratio frequency. And when I say ratio, I'm talking about measurement, but also energy lines, those magic squares that, the different energy lines that create those magic squares, and then a tone, an audible tone, either made from instrument or voice. And those things combined eradicate the spiky balls from people's systems. And I think this is something that's going to get delivered on a mass scale. So all of you guys who have been working, learning healing modalities, working at accelerating your intuitive abilities, this isn't just, yes, you learn to be a healer by healing yourself, but it's not just for you. It's like there's a larger plan unfolding right now. And this is not 2023. I don't think it's 2023. I think it's going to be later. But this vision I've been having for decades, and others like me have been having for decades. And that is that there's these healing centers, and they present themselves kind of like a complex of pyramids, and there's frequency transmissions, there's frequency healing happening in each of these pyramids, and each pyramid holds a particular vibrational ratio of the earth and sky, and then we add in sound, and that is how we heal people of particular ailments. Now, the ailments are always elusive. Every time I see it, I see the structures and I see the mechanisms and how it all comes together to create healing. But I'm never shown what it is exactly that we're healing, that we're doing with the frequency, just all the different layers of how the frequencies come together. Okay, so it can be healing. And this dream that I just had, which was validated by several data sets, feedback loops from the universe instantly, as soon as I woke up, actually. I woke up, got feedback loop, and then like half hour later, another feedback loop and another feedback loop. And then it was like an onslaught of feedback loops. So I was like, okay, so this was not just a canopy dream. This was a much deeper dream that this was coming from. And that is, if you think about how many people have had the you-know-whats and how many spiky balls they have going on, that not only that were, injected, but also the body is producing, right? There's a massive eradication that is going to need to transpire for people, for humans. Sorry if I'm getting a little doom and gloom there, but I'm trying to give a solution. Here's the solution for what we don't know is the problem yet. The problem is on its way, but here's the solution, just because, so you're prepared. See, that's the art. That's the beautiful thing about working with energy medicine. It's all outside of time. And when you're in flow and alignment with the planet, with the Pachamama, you are given everything that you need for your walk before you walk it. It's not after the fact. It's before you walk it. You are given everything you need to walk the path that your spirit is here to walk. Okay. All right, dear Sister Starshine, Joanne says, what about the planned change of music frequencies put into law, the 430 versus 432 music frequencies? Well, I guess the solution is what you said about being put into law, which is a structure, which is a Saturn structure. So that that which is not in alignment with the truth of where we're going, all that stuff's going to fall away. It's going to get hammered by the universe. Going back into that thread of we're all in this together, I don't just mean us people. I'm talking about us and the entire universe. We are all in this together. The universe is colluding with us. Okay. The universe is colluding with us. So it's up to us to get those blind spots out of the way, really identify those pieces that cause us to collude with our own disempowerment, to collude with our own victimization of ourselves and others, that collude with having power over. We deal with those pieces, unravel them, and then we will not, the universe is our friend again. The earth is our mother, our friend again. The earth is our ally again. Okay. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the whole green movement, somewhere along the line, the earth has become our enemy in that narrative. In the beginning of that movement, it was Mother Earth. We love Mother Earth. We want her to be healthy and whole. It was, it was for nature, love of nature. And now in that narrative, somehow it got spun around and now she's our enemy. We have, what do you call it? Cyclone bombs, which are blizzards, right? We have all this crazy, global warming, mother nature is attacking us, and none of that's true. All of this is a cycle unfolding. We're just the ignoramuses, not in harmony with the cycle, because we're told that we have control here, but we don't. We have to work with the cycles of nature, because that's who we are. We have to work with who we are, not who something else thinks we should be. When we are in our truth, when we're doing what we know is right inside of us, that is us aligning with our true nature, us aligning with the great with Mother Nature, and that's us accepting that we are in these cycles. Now, how do we navigate within these cycles? How do we navigate within these times of change? Our ecological systems are changing. That means we cannot continue to do things the way we've always done them. Pluto, ding, 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 ding. Here comes Pluto. Okay. So this is a reckoning, man. And the 2023 is a reckoning. And I mean that with a smile. Not that it won't be intense, but it's going to be a reckoning well needed. Well needed. All right. Woohoo. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Ella, for that. Green party set up to invert. Yes, yes, yes. Dropping truth bomb, plain and simple. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That's very sweet. All right. So yeah, for those of us who are on this page, this is not scary news. If anything, this is exciting news. This is something like, okay, finally the big change, that the big tipping point is upon us, right? The big tipping point is here. 2023 is it. It's now the Pluto is going to be continuing its cycles for decades, right? So this is just the first year of decades worth of change. So do know that. So I don't want to give you guys the idea that Pluto's going to come in, do its business, and he's out of here. It's like, no. He's coming in, doing his business. He's coming in like a cannonball, doing his business. And then eventually we will, the cannonball will be a maybe not such a big plunge. It'll be more like a current under the ocean, right? A current under the surface again. But that's not how it's going to enter. The enter is a cannonball into the water, and then it actually goes out again, and then it will come back again, and then it will be more of an undercurrent for the following decades. But these systems need to be broken up. I'm sure you guys are with me. These systems are done. They are done. We're done letting them exploit our children. We're done letting them exploit our families. We're done letting these systems suck the life out of us, compromise us from doing what we know is right. Nothing is worse than having to deny what you know is right and do something else for the sake of some other purpose. You know what I mean? It's like, because when you know something is right and you're not taking action on it, quite literally fragments a part of your energy. Okay, you weaken your energy field when you're not following your truth, and your truth may not be an easy thing for other people's to accept. Your truth may be something that goes against everything you've been taught, but you got to follow it. You got to follow it. And actually, for those of you who haven't seen that movie Away with Water yet, that's one of the big pieces, catalyst that happens in that movie, is that the son can't help but follow what he thinks is right, even though he's putting people in danger, even though it's having consequences that are painful. He can't not listen to himself. And that is a major lesson for us all. Imagine what this world would be like if all of us followed our truth. Following our truth was not an option. It was a fact that had to be. Okay, imagine all the ways you would have made different choices in your life if you followed the truth and didn't compromise it for the sake of something else. Okay, and this is why we're so easily taken over, because our energy fields are so weak, because we live a lifestyle where we're constantly betraying ourselves over and over and over again. Think about, every time you flick a switch, where that energy is coming from, who sacrificed their life for that energy, who, what damage to the environment did that happen, did that impact, right? So it's like we are enwoven, enmeshed in a system of power over dynamics. No matter what we do, we're participating in that system. And now we're waking up out of it. The solar thing, solar is not the savior here. I have solar, and believe me, it has its limitations. There's a lot more to happen than what we think is going on. And as we reveal these blind spots and wake up to who we are on a more multidimensional level, we actually will be able to achieve free energy. But we have to first get over the danger of using free energy as weapons and bombs, because those are the structures, the current structures in place. That is what they will do with free energy, is hurt people. And that's not what it's for. That's an abuse of life. So all these structures that caused us to, that had wreaked havoc on our family unit, wreaked havoc on the beings that we give birth to in the world, on our relationships, on our very sense of how we be. All these structures, this is where they start to crumble this year. And it's because people will not be able to compromise their truth the way they once were willing to. They're not able to do it anymore. So that is a blessing for all of this planet, guys, that people are not willing to compromise on their truth anymore the way they used to. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be 100%, but I'm saying the way they used to. All right, dear sister Ella says, I can't get out of the birth of the star. I can't get the birth of the star out of my head. To me, has been the biggest sign that we are on the way. So you can say feels as a confirmation. Yes, it is. It's absolutely. And what she's referring to, if you guys didn't watch that episode, is that there was there's a elder seer in Africa that had his grandson contact a medicine woman by the name of Una that I know of, and said there's a new star in the sky. He really wanted to get the word out. There's a new star that's appeared in the sky, and it's a bringer of peace. And this is a star that we, our own collective hearts, called to us. Our own collective hearts called this star to our sphere. That means we did this, right? We called this in. So there's a lot of impacts with that, but the fact that this new star is in the sky and is carrying these frequencies as strongly as it's carrying it, we are all saying yes to it. This is now a frequency pouring into our very being, influencing our DNA dance, influencing the very expression of our essence through this biofield. So thank you, Ella, for bringing me back to that, because that's a wonderful note to close on. Pluto is clearing the way so we can truly have that peace. That's the heart call that we've all been putting out for decades. We've been putting the heart call out as a collective. Okay. I know the media doesn't tell us that, because the media is all about sharing drama, but boots on the ground, people to people, there are miracles happening on a daily basis. And you're not going to hear about that in the news. You're not going to hear about that on Facebook or whatever social media. You're only going to hear about that when you're in a personal connection with another human being. They're going to share that with you, or you share that with them. So these feedback loops of the universe, pay attention to nature, pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to every little thing as if it is the universe poeting a sonnet to you about you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. I hope you guys have a fabulous, fabulous new year, bringing in with party or meditation or whatever brings you bliss and joy and connects you with the truth of who you are. Thank you for being here and doing that. And of course, thank you for being part of these conversations. Coming 2023 is a great time to start stepping into your empowerment as an empath. I encourage you guys to check out our Black Body 101 Empowered Empath Program. That is something that is very affordable, and it happens on, it's an ongoing thing that goes from month to month, and you learn all kinds of tools and learn about different capacities that maybe you don't even know you have, to really turn your sensitivities, the power of your empathic abilities, from being a burden into something that's really a blessing and a superpower for you. So we do that. That's something that's really close to my heart to offer to you guys. So check it out. It's Light Body 101 on our website. Yes, it is New Zealand. Yes. Thank you, Ella. Yes. All right. Bye, guys. That's it for me. We'll see you guys next time. Mwah. Yep, the new star, I spoke about it. Is yes, okay, yeah, guys. You guys are gonna have to search for that in the past chats. It's in the descriptions of those chats. All right, love you guys. Bye bye.